Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and this is my Week 2 battle for the UBL Ultimate Battle League. We're going up against Serene Grace, coach of the Chicago Shaymin-Sky. Go check her out. Her link is down in the description, and the link for all the other UBL coaches is, of course, down in the description. We are 1-0 coming into this match. Sarah is unfortunately 0-1, and we've got our team matchup here. So if you missed my team builder, I recommend you go check it out. Just real quick, we have a Stealth Rock 3 attacks Necrozma. We have a Toxic Healing Wish Megalopony. We have a Banded Diggersby. We have a Choppleberry Heatran with Magma Storm and Taunt. We have a Unaware Curse Quagsire with Rocky Helmet. And we have a Specs Heliolisk. And Sarah has elected to bring Ditto, Tapu Bulu, Hawlucha, Cryogonal, Xurkitree, and Mega Charizard X. So the one thing, of course, that I'm really shocked not to see here is the Cresselia. I thought for 100% sure that a Rocky Helmet Cresselia will be coming to deal with my Lopunny. She's elected not to bring that. The Ditto, you know, it kind of makes sense because, like, if she has to sack something to my Lopunny, because, like, Lopunny comes in and tries to revenge kill something, she then has the opportunity to go into a Scarf Ditto and then potentially revenge kill something on my team. So, like, it makes sense as an offensive check. But definitely Cresselia, I think, was her best defensive check. So on paper, then, what that leaves her with is potentially a Tapu Bulu that is going to be able to switch in on high jump kicks, which makes sense. Like, Bulu is very physically bulky. It can potentially run a Rocky Helmet, and it has some built-in leftovers, which is really nice in the fact that you have grassy terrain. So I can see that going. Like, I don't think it's like a crime that she didn't bring Cresselia. Just for me personally, I think that was her best option. She did bring the Tapu Lucha core, so Hawlucha we're going to have to be very, very careful of. It's going to be very important to keep my Necrozma at a high amount of HP in order to switch into Hawlucha, or keep my Quagsire healthy. Quagsire is just, of course, incredibly pressured by Charizard. I'm going to want to be able to, you know, have plenty of opportunities to switch in Quagsire on the Charizard. And because, you know, even though we resist the Fire-type moves, we still take a pretty good chunk of damage from the Dragon-type moves, so I don't want to be in range of a Dragon Claw or an Outrage with my Quagsire. But the nice thing is that she, you know, she doesn't have any electric immunities to begin with, because she doesn't have a Ground-type. But so we have, you know, good opportunities to go into our Heliolisk and full switch around. We're a little bit worried about trying to figure out what her Choice Scarfer is, if she has one. Because she's going to want something to presumably outspeed, like, Lopunny and Heliolisk. So if it's just Ditto, then that's fine. But if she decided to bring, like, a Scarf Xurkitree or a Scarf Cryogonal, I'm going to be a little bit scared of that. So anyway, in terms of lead matchup, it's tough. Like, I want to lead Heliolisk just because it's so free versus her team. She doesn't have a normal resist. But I mean, expecting her to expect my Heliolisk lead. And so basically I want to lead, like, versus something that could potentially beat, her Scarfers, whether that's Ditto or, again, the Xurkitree or Cryogonal. And so for that reason, I thought Necrozma actually was a pretty good lead. And it works out nicely anyway, because now we can get up our Stealth Rocks as soon as possible, which is going to be good for punishing that Charizard from switching in. She does have Rapid Spin and Defog on the Cryogonal, so she does have some options for hazard removal. But, you know, pressuring that hazard removal is very good, and if it doesn't go for hazard removal, it gives 50% off on that Charizard, which is very worth it. So that's going to be my lead of choice. With that, let's just go ahead and click play, and wish good luck, have fun to Sarah. That's going to be a nice one. I just got to make sure I don't get swept. In the first game, Sarah brought a lot of setup sweepers versus Root, and he was able to fend it off. I'm hoping that we don't get overwhelmed by the setup and that we're able to deal with it much like Root did. So here comes out my Necrozma, and then she does lead with her Ditto. So it's kind of what I was thinking might end up happening, where she leads with Ditto, a potential Scarf Ditto to deal with my Heliolisk. Because then it can go for, like, a powerful normal type move, which I don't deal very well with. Like, I don't want to switch in my Heatran because a Heatran is so pressured by Tapu Bulu. So I just go into Necrozma and I get at my rocks. She actually doubles out into Charizard. So after seeing my set, she probably realized that this was going to be her best chance to get in Zard at full HP. And so She decides to Mega Evolve here. I don't want to give her a free Dragon Dance. Like, granted, I don't want to take a ton of damage with my Necrozma, but I didn't want to give her the Dragon Dance for free. I wanted to get off some damage. So knowing that she has to Mega Evolve turn 1, I do go for the Earthquake to try and get off that damage. And this will also help me scout the set. And so I do go for the EQ. It does like 60% or so. So that confirms that this is a very minimally... like this is almost certainly max attack, max speed. Has almost no bulk investment. And so now that this star is set up to +1, I am going to go into my Quagsire. And I'm going to see this thing go for Dragon Claw. It actually does quite a chunk of damage. It does 87 points of damage, which guarantees that this thing is adamant natured. And so the fact that I am unaware, of course, ignores those boosts, so that's really nice. She's going to go for another Dragon Claw, and I'm just going to go for a Recover. I have no issue making this play, because if she wants to go out into Tapu Bulu, I get my Quagsire up to 100% HP to deal with Zar the next time it comes in. And like she's taking damage the whole time that I'm going for Recover, right? Because I'm doing Rocky Helmet back to her. So it's a pretty much a no drawback play for me. And after going for another Dragon Claw, she does end up going down to my Rocky Helmet, and then my Quagsire is at a pretty decent amount of HP, 113. So right away, Charizard X has been eliminated. So that's very, very nice for us. It's just nice to not get swept, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But this does, of course, give her a very free switch into her Tapu Bulu. So I do go right into my Heatran. I know this is such an obvious play, but I don't really have another option. The nice thing is that, because she didn't bring the Cresselia, I think it does sort of confirm the fact that this Bulu is forced into a defensive role, and that is kind of confirmed by the fact that she goes for Light Screen here. So this is some sort of bulky Bulu, not an offensive one. Not sure if it's going to have Superpower or not, or if it's going to have, like, Fight Z or not. The Tapu Bulu did not show leftovers or anything. But I do miss my Magma Storm, which definitely sucks, because it would allow me to trap into a KO this Heatran. And then she does go for a Nature's Madness. And so that gets my Heatran down to a pretty low amount of health. So definitely stinks, because, yeah, like I said, I would have been able to eliminate that Tapu Bulu there, because it would not have been able to switch out into the Hawlucha just now. So that would have been really, really nice. I go for another Magma Storm as the Hawlucha comes in, gets the Grassy Seed boost, and I miss once again. Really frustrated, but, it's the game of Pokemon. What are you going to do? So because the Tapu Bulu does not seem to be, like, Scarf or anything like that, my Heatran, although it's still very valuable for dealing with the Tapu Bulu, I know, pretty much for sure that I can revenge kill it with Diggersby or Heliolisk, depending upon the range of HP that it's at. So to me, it's worth it to stay in with my Heatran here to try and get some damage off on this Hawlucha. And the fact that I have my Chople Berry intact also, helps me make that decision. Because maybe the Hawlucha goes for a Swords Dance, and I can then do some good damage to it. And then if she wants to go for the Fighting-type move, I do potentially still have that Chople Berry intact. After the one turn, I am going to then switch into my Necrozma, because it doesn't seem like she wants to go for Swords Dance. And even if she does go for Swords Dance here, because my Necrozma was at full HP, I can live a +2 Acrobatics from Hawlucha in this range with my Necrozma. So it seemed worth it to switch in there. If she wanted to go for another Fighting-type move, then no big deal. She does go for a Toxic on my Necrozma, which is minimally annoying, but thanks to all of the chip damage that I had on this Hawlucha, I was going to be able to guaranteed kill with his Psychic. It's funny, actually, like, I hadn't realized that the Light Screen went away. I was making this play and thinking that the Light Screen would still be up, but it turns out that she's not Light Clay on the Tapu Bulu. She's actually Terrain Extender, which I didn't realize in the heat of the battle, just because I don't think I've ever faced off versus a Terrain Extender in battle. So anyway, the Psychic would have killed from like 115%. So that part didn't matter so much, but that's why I was making that series of plays. So now this Xurkitree comes out. I don't want my Necrozma getting too weakened. Reason being is because if she traces Lopunny with her Ditto, and she can potentially just spam high jump kick for the win, because I have 3 normal types and a steel type on my team. So I cannot afford to let my Necrozma take a ton of damage. So as the Xurkitree goes for Tail Glow, I decided to go into my Heliolisk, because if it wanted to go for an attacking move, Heliolisk, resists the electric type move and has relatively good special defense naturally. so I thought I could take pretty much any move that the Xurkitree wanted to go for. And then I go for a Hyper Voice just to do as much damage as possible. Truthfully, this was another situation where my damage calc was still showing light screen. There's so many times where these damn screens screw up my calcs, and I always forget to take them off when I'm doing more calcs. So the Hyper Voice, it did way more than I expected. Honestly, I probably would have clicked Hyper Beam had I realized what the sort of damage that thing was going to do, just because... like, if I went for Hyper Beam, she either goes into Bulu and then Revenge kills, or she goes into Ditto and Revenge kills. Like, it was worth it, I think. But anyway, we ended up getting off like 90%, dying with Heliolisk, and then finishing off the Xurkitree with Quick Attack on our Diggersby. So after this Tapu Bulu comes in on the Diggersby, I'm going to go right back on into Heatran. The Heatran has shown Light Screen, Nature's Madness at this point. We haven't seen any other moves. On this turn, I go for Earth Power, expecting the Ditto to come in, just because it seems like a pretty likely switch in on her part. But she ends up staying in with the Tapu Bulu, and just goes for Nature's Madness. So at this point, it seems pretty certain that she doesn't have a fighting type move. And she also seems pretty adamant on staying in with the Bulu. So I'm just going to go for Magma Storm. If she does end up tracing my Heatran, I'll probably just let the Heatran go down, and then I'll go into something like Lopunny to potentially Revenge Kill, or Diggersby. Actually, my Diggersby can't touch this touch my own Heatran, which is really funny. So yeah, Lopunny probably would be the play, assuming that Lopunny can take one Magma Storm, and then I would just click High Jump Kick and get, basically either do a lot of damage or get a kill. But, the fact that now that she's left the Tapu Bulu in here, it is trapped after taking the Magma Storm, and it is going to finally go down. So there's a few turns of screens potentially left here. I think 1 or 2 turns of screens. And that's going to protect her from my Heatran's moves. She is going to go into Cryogonal. I decided to keep my Heatran here, and again, the reason being, if she wants to go into Ditto on the final turn and trace either my Diggersby or my Lopunny, I want to have something that can potentially resist a normal type move, because otherwise I could potentially lose to Scarf Frustration. So I go into my Quagsire. Quagsire is definitely the most expendable here. It's already taken out the Zard, and it doesn't really have much utility versus Ditto or versus Cryogonal. So Cryogonal, of course, is packing the Freeze Dry. It is going to take out our Quagsire, and then we're going to go right on into our Lopunny. The Cryogonal has already shown that it's not Scarf. It went for Knockoff on the first turn and then Freeze Dry on the second turn. So I'm just going to click High Jump Kick here. High Jump Kick is super effective versus both the Cryogonal and the Ditto, which could come in and trace the Lopunny and get that normal typing. So we are going to land the first one and take out that Cryogonal with ease. And that leaves just Ditto on Sarah's side. And so on this turn, I potentially could have gone into Necrozma and taken the potential High Jump Kick, but I figured the safer thing to do is just to stay in here with Lopunny, and if she goes for High Jump Kick, I'm going to assume then that she's locked into it. I can go into Necrozma and I can click Psychic and basically take her out. She ends up clicking Frustration here. At the time, I thought maybe she was over predicting and trying to hit the incoming Necrozma, because potentially, I'm not a fully Fistiff Necrozma. Necrozma could potentially get 2 KO'd by Frustration, I suppose. But what actually happened is that she was a Fight Z Ditto, which is totally bonkers. It's so spicy. I really like it. So she could have then gone for all-out pummeling, either on my Lopunny or on any of my other switch-ins. And then she would be able to pretty much outspeed my entire team at that point. And click either Frustration or High Jump Kick. So that just makes me all the more glad that I made the play that I did, leaving in my Lopunny. If I had switched out into Necrozma, I'm not sure that the combination... I'm not sure if it could have survived the combination of a turn of Toxic, an all-out pummeling, and a Frustration. And if that had happened, I would have lost. I definitely would have lost. But, the way that it played out, it ended up giving me a nice 4-0 W. I think, yeah, in some situations it would have been a 3-0 dub, but I was happy to get the 4-0. So good game, Sarah. It was really fun. Dealing with all those setup threats was really scary. The bulky Bulu was actually really nice, not just because of its ability to switch in on stuff like Lopunny potentially. Like I kind of preserved my Lopunny till the late game, so she didn't have the option to bring it in really. But the fact that it could set up screens for a lot of the setup sweepers was a really nice strategy. It's just too bad it didn't quite work out. Yeah, I thought, I was really scared that I was going to get overwhelmed by Zard and Lucha, but we pulled it off. So big thanks to the front office for helping team build this week. All you guys, you know who you are. Big thanks to Skyrander for jetting the team for me this week, and big thanks to my buddy Deebs for recording the game. Week 3 is going to be probably the biggest game that we've had on the channel to date. We are going to be going up against Dan, aka A-Drive, and there's been lots made about his team that he drafted this season. He has sort of touted it as the best team he's ever drafted. Had a tough week 1 loss versus Uzi, who's a very talented player. It's debatable if it potentially came down to a damage roll whether that game went to Dan or to Uzi. And so if you definitely check out his week 2 game. He went up against Styx from Token Minorities, another very talented player, and see what record he's going to be coming into the week with. And then, yeah, that'll be both of our records coming into week 3. So it's going to be a showdown that you won't want to miss. I'm really nervous for it. It's going to be a really tough game. So make sure you drop a like and drop a sub so that way you can stay up to date on all of the latest content, like next week's battle with A-Drive. And until the next time, I will see you guys later.